if we're not paying attention, many of us are lost, and that's by design. And my invitation is that we don't have to be lost if we don't want to be lost. We can find our way, and we can find our way by coming back to the land. We can find our way by coming back to our breath, coming back into our body, by moving our body. If we're not moving consciously, we're missing opportunity. And so that's what this place represents, is conscious design in all forms. The origin of the Ecology Center was born from a desire to present a new future, a new way of being. And so we're 16 years into building our dream of the future. It's an ecotopia with an incredible assortment of talented, amazing humans, and a very loving community that comes and supports us. And so I'd like to take you on a tour. So those mulberry trees are like 3 years old.
What?
Yeah. That tree over there, I planted that tree, that sycamore, that really big one. How old do you think that one is?
3. A couple of
12.
6. 3.
9.
15. So that's pretty big for a 15-year-old. So I'm a younger brother, and I had the fortune of drafting off my older brother's interests. And so he got interested in surfing and skateboarding, and so therefore did I. And so I think that was probably 6 and 7, we've had an infatuation with the ocean. At about 10th or 11th grade, I remember after a rain seeing closures, the beaches closed because of the pollution of the runoff. So that was an early memory, and then simultaneously taking time on Saturdays to volunteer with the Surfrider Foundation to pick up trash. And those two pieces gave me the first orientation of myself that we live in an urban environment that isn't expressed in health. And so that put me down the road of learning and growing my awareness to our humans' role in the environment, good and bad. So I, at an early age, became a traveler. I traveled with my friends backpacking and looking for waves all over Latin America. I lived internationally, living with indigenous communities for 7 years. A formative moment that is mostly on the personal development side was living with the Shipibo in the Amazon of Peru and growing ideas like a tree nursery, building thatched roof cabins for the school, working on aquaculture projects which were helping seed ponds that were made by hand to grow fish that were their main sustenance and protein, of which was unavailable in the rivers. I took an empty, degraded 1,000-acre pasture and turned it back into a thriving ecosystem. There's a quote of a song that resonates, which is, "Mama, mama, many worlds I've come since I first left home." And so while I was young, I felt like I was ready for the next commitment. I was ready for an investment of myself into something that was seeking to be. And so, yes, the age was young, the aspiration was young, but yet with that youthfulness came, I think, an opportunity that had no insecurity. There was nothing to lose.
So you weren't nervous at all?
I've learned a great skill set, which is ecological design, which is putting the pieces back together, which is putting humans back in relationship with the life-giving forces of nature. So yeah, this whole farm was a very simplified commercial operation, growing a couple ingredients a season for wholesale. So we turned the farm basically 180 degrees, literally and figuratively, which is that we put the farm back in relationship to the sun. So everything's basically going back to south.
Interesting.
That's the main rainbow path, and then everything is an artery off of that. So we just walked through an orchard. Those orchards do not shade the ingredients in between.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So they don't shade the strawberries, they don't shade the lettuce. And so we can have this ecology, which is a beautiful diversity of ingredients, but also the trees. And so we went from one big wide open farm kind of as a more of a mining operation, an extraction, is now this beautiful ecology that's got probably 20 small farms in it. One of the statistics I learned early on in my explorations was that agriculture was our #1 impact on our oceans. And so I took that actually very personally as a teenager, that maybe one day if I didn't do something or if we didn't act appropriately, that the oceans would no longer be accessible for the generations to come. And simultaneously, I kind of had memories of coming back to the garden. My mother was a gardener and my grandfather was a gardener, and those two ideas kind of pushed me into inquiry and really deep exploration of growing food. So everything gets hand transplanted, all of the seeds, one cell at a time, into the greenhouse operation here. And then the seeds will germinate and we'll grow them out as little seedlings.
Wow.
And then you can kind of get fun with the farm. You can see the colors and the textures. You see there's flowers and there's vegetables and there's herbs. And that's really like the next month and a half of planting. 85% or more of all of the ingredients that you saw on the farm today started with someone putting a seed in a tray.
A single seed in a tray?
Yeah.
It grows from there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, from 1 acre, we were a garden with all sorts of wonderful children's programming and public programming and a small retail environment. But when we took on 28 acres, we were all of a sudden farming at a real scale. Our little general store turned into a farm stand that really became a big business, which then evolved into building a restaurant and a cafe, which then evolved into doing dinner service at a community table, so it's just been this constant growth. But yes, we went from, pretty much overnight, went from 12 employees to about 45 employees in order to serve the farm and grow ingredients and meet the needs of the community. The learning curve of going from 1 acre to 28 was immense. And now 28 acres, what felt like a really large undertaking, now is a small garden for us, and we're looking for larger land and more acreage to farm and grow. This retail environment helps sustain our nonprofit, but in nourishing the community as well as helping support 100 small businesses. So in every season it gets better and better, but the community shows up and takes the bounty home with them, and that's culture. That's an abundant future. By and large, when I've been able to come back to myself, when I've been able to go to the ocean, when I've been able to go to the proverbial mountain and kind of resource myself, I've found my way. And so I feel more capable than ever to lead this organization and this team to a really healthy and abundant future, and have been fortunate to have felt the capacity and capability to do that since early days. Yeah, this is sort of my creative den. All the art you see on the walls is art that's been created on the farm. So we do different residency programs, so I get to collaborate with some of my heroes. And yeah, this is a little sanctuary for me to kind of drop back into myself and guide the spaceship forward. We are in a reality where we have to consciously move forward, and that means buying less and buying things that we care about. And so that's our only hope. And that can be a head of lettuce that we have reverence for, and that lettuce that I spent, it's only 50 cents more to buy from someone that has ecological methodologies than buying it from a supermarket. So we're talking a small margin. Take that home and you make a salad for your family, and you feel a sense of pride. You feel a sense of nourishment. You feel a sense of purpose, connection. It's that simple. It costs $4. You could buy an heirloom garment from my wife that may cost $200, but it lasts for 200 years. The grocer has scaled up to astronomical scale, and well, we've got to bring it back to basics again. You know, just kind of coming back, understanding that there's a life cycle of ideas, there's a succession, and then there's entropy. So things get bigger and then they die. And so, you know, the co-op became the Whole Foods, which is now the Amazon, which is now going away from culture. There's an opportunity for us as community-based entrepreneurs to come back to the basic operating procedures that worked before us. We can come back to each other. We can build resilient, decentralized, localized systems that serve small businesses, that serve individual communities and households. It's the only option forward, is that if we can, my vision, invitation is that If we can get away from serving the multinational corporations that don't have an interest in serving our community directly, we will be better off in the future. And the only way to do that is to know your butcher, your baker, and your candlestick maker. So right now, for the last 6 years, we've focused our efforts on building what has never been done before on 28 acres. And now our next years ahead and decades and generations will be about how do we ripple this central hub and ripple it out into countless spokes of more farms and more farmers and more school gardens and more chefs that have relationship to ingredients and farmers and more people buying and nourishing their family with local organic ingredients and really building this ecosystem. There's an important piece to the word of agriculture that we're really endeavoring here, which is putting the culture back in the agriculture. And without culture, we're nothing. Digital communications, social media, politics, that's not culture. Those are not serving us. Those are distractions away from how we can be authentic beings of purpose to drive our culture forward so that we leave it better than we found it. We give more than we take. These are basic parameters that we hopefully are making with this great spirit of being in alignment with living a healthy life. And so that's what this place represents. You know, is a bunch of people that are trying to work in harmony with something greater than themselves so that we inspire many other people to do the same. At the end of the day, that's culture. And so we're really trying to shift the culture. And we do believe we have a good crack at it.